I never thought a piece of jewelry could destroy a family. It started on a Sunday night just like always. Mom made her famous pot roast. Dad opened a bottle of wine. Savannah scrolled through her phone between bites. We were halfway through dessert when she suddenly froze fingers to her neck. "My ring," she said. "Where's my ring?" The table quieted. I glanced up from my plate. "Which one?" "The white gold one. From my birthday." Dad tilted his head. "You wore it tonight." "No, I was going to," she replied, pushing her chair back. "I left it in the blue box in my drawer. I went to get it before dinner and it was gone." Mom looked concerned. "Maybe you misplaced it." "I don't misplace things like that," Savannah snapped, already heading up the stairs. A few minutes later, she came back down empty-handed, face flushed. "It's not in my room." We spent the next hour tearing through the house, under cushions, in coat pockets, the trash. Nothing. Then Dad said something that made my chest tighten. "Were you upstairs earlier, Elena?" I blinked. "I used the bathroom." Savannah folded her arms. "I thought I saw you come out of my room." I laughed, nervous. "I wasn't in your room." "Funny," she said. "My door was open. I always keep it shut." I didn't open it. A few more tense minutes passed before Dad went into my old bedroom. When he came out, he was holding the small blue box. "It was under the bookshelf," he said flatly. "In your room." I froze. "What? That's impossible. I haven't touched that room in weeks." Savannah's eyes gleamed with something close to triumph. "Elena," Dad said quietly, "if you're in some kind of trouble, we can help you. But lying to our faces, I think you should go. Until you're ready to be honest." The room spun. I had paid their mortgage last week, covered Savannah's tuition for the semester. And now I was being told to leave. No one even asked why I'd do something like that. They just assumed I had. Being the eldest daughter means learning how to carry things no one else sees. I was 16 when the 2008 recession hit. Dad's small contracting business collapsed almost overnight. Clients vanished. Projects stalled. Within a year, he laid off his crew and sold half his equipment just to stay afloat. The man who once filled the house with sawdust and stories stopped talking so much. Then came Mom's diagnosis, fibromyalgia, with chronic fatigue. It drained her energy and his patience. The bills piled up quietly, while Savannah, only 9 at the time, twirled through the living room in her ballet costumes, blissfully unaware. I stopped asking for new clothes, took a part-time job at the public library, learned how to stretch groceries for 4. When my classmates were touring colleges, I was comparing FAFSA calculators and local scholarships, trying to figure out how to leave without leaving them behind. Savannah never knew. She got a sweet 16 party with lights and glitter balloons. I helped hang the decorations, hiding the fact I'd skipped a dentist appointment to afford the cake. It became a pattern. By the time I graduated with a computer science degree, I was already wired to feel guilty for every success. I landed a job with a tech firm in Milwaukee, and within 3 years, I was promoted twice. 6 figures. Health insurance, stock options. I didn't buy a new car. I didn't go to Europe with my friends. Instead, I went home every other weekend with groceries I got from work or clothes I said were on clearance. When Mom needed a new heating pad, it showed up on the doorstep in a box labeled trial program. When Dad fell behind on the mortgage, I offered a temporary loan. He never paid me back. I never asked. When Savannah got accepted into a private university, $45,000 a year, I said I'd help a little, then quietly paid the bill in full. Every semester. No one ever asked where the money came from. They didn't want to know. Maybe it made them feel better to pretend it was theirs to give. They called it love. I called it survival. And now apparently they call it suspicious. 2 months before that dinner, Dad called me during work. That wasn't unusual. He often needed help paying a bill or understanding a medical form. But this time, his voice was softer than usual. Savannah's been eyeing this ring, he said. White gold, tiny diamonds. She saw it in a boutique downtown. It's expensive, but it's her 21st. He didn't say the price right away. I already knew. Savannah had shown me the ring weeks before over lunch, casually mentioning it was only $7,000. I'd smiled and said nothing while doing the math in my head, almost half a semester's tuition. Dad hesitated. We want to give her something special, but your mom's meds just reset with a new deductible and transfer me the link I cut in. I'll handle it. A week later, I watched her open the little white box at her birthday dinner. She gasped, nearly crying. Oh my God, she said, turning to our parents. You guys are amazing. Greg smiled and poured more wine. Linda beamed. I took a photo of her holding the ring, knowing she'd post it with a caption like, blessed. She never even glanced at me. That night I told myself it didn't matter. The gift had landed. The moment had been beautiful. Who cared where the credit went? Now that same ring was the centerpiece of my public shaming. I just don't understand how it disappeared, Savannah said, pacing between bites of dinner. I wore it last weekend, but I always put it back in the box. I remember because I was tipsy and didn't want to lose it. Did you check your dresser drawers? Mom asked. Sometimes things slide around. I checked everything. Then she turned to me. You were in my room earlier, right? No, just the bathroom. I thought I saw you come out. Her voice was light casual, but her eyes were sharp. 10 minutes later, Dad found the ring box shoved behind a stack of books in my old room. Elena, he said, his tone unreadable. It was hidden under the shelf, in your space. I shook my head. That's not possible. I think you should leave, he said, just until we sort this out. Savannah didn't say a word, but she didn't have to. She already looked satisfied. I didn't argue when Dad told me to leave. I couldn't. My throat had closed around something too thick to name grief, maybe, or disbelief. I grabbed my bag, the one I always brought when I visited, still holding the receipt from the groceries I'd bought that morning. As I stepped outside, the cold slapped me across the face. Fall was fading fast in Wisconsin. I got into my car without looking back. But just as I turned the ignition, I saw her, Savannah, standing by the front window, phone in hand. She wasn't crying. She wasn't even pretending to. The porch light behind her illuminated her screen for a split second. A reflection caught in the glass, just enough to see it. The shimmer of small diamonds and white gold peeking from beneath her sweater collar. The ring, she still had it. My breath hitched. I blinked and looked again, but she'd turned away, angling the phone, walking out of sight. I sat frozen in the driveway, my knuckles white on the steering wheel. For one sharp, blinding second, I considered going back inside, confronting her, demanding she open her hand. But then I remembered the look on Dad's face, the ease with which he believed I had done it, the quiet agreement in Mom's silence. They had already chosen their truth. I drove off. Not home, just away. I parked 2 blocks down and cried until I couldn't see the dashboard. That night, in the dim light of my apartment, I poured myself a glass of wine and stared at the ceiling. The ring wasn't about theft. It was about power, control. Savannah had always been the golden one, protected, adored. Maybe she couldn't stand that I was still the one holding everything up. I opened my laptop. If they could believe I'd steal from them without question, maybe it was time they finally knew what I'd really been giving all along. Not a ring, not a lie. The roof over their heads, the bills in their mailbox, the degree on Savannah's wall. I was done being invisible. I didn't sleep that night. By sunrise, I was sitting on my living room floor, surrounded by bank statements, payment confirmations, tuition invoices, utility bills, all with my name on the paid by line. I hadn't looked at it all in one place before. I'd always handled it one crisis at a time. One late bill, one missed premium, one guilt-laced call from Dad. Now I added it up. Mortgage payments, $108,000. Utilities, $12,400. Property taxes, $21,800. Medical bills for Mom, $47,600. Savannah's tuition and living expenses, $151, $200. Miscellaneous groceries, repairs, car insurance, about $36,000. Total, $377,000. In 3 years, I stared at the number. I could have bought a house outright, funded a retirement account, traveled the world, built a life. Instead, I had covered someone else's, and they had kicked me out for a missing ring. By noon, I had an appointment with Janet Lee, the financial advisor I'd spoken to once before during my first promotion. She blinked twice when I showed her the spreadsheet. "Elena, this is unsustainable," she said gently. "You've been supporting 4 adults on a single income, and no one knows." I nodded. "They think it's their money, or some miracle." She didn't scold me. She helped me breathe. "You're not legally obligated to keep paying. Not for the house, not the tuition, not the bills. Unless you co-signed something and you didn't, you can walk away." Just to be sure, I booked a follow-up with a lawyer. William Chen confirmed the same thing. These were gifts. "Voluntary support," he said. "There's no legal responsibility here, only emotional entanglement." I went home and printed everything. Labeled it, tabbed it, placed it in a clean black binder. Not to throw in anyone's face, but to finally have proof. Of the truth. Of myself. Then I sat down at my computer and began the quiet work of unraveling. I logged into the mortgage account and canceled autopay. I withdrew my tuition payment authorization from Savannah's university portal. I disconnected utility autopays, deleted saved cards, terminated pharmacy payment plans. One by one, I cut the cords. No drama, no announcement, no fight, just silence. The kind that happens when a safety net disappears beneath people who never look down. Let them wonder where the money went. Let them ask who was holding them up. Let them sit with the real cost of what they never once thanked me for. The first call came 2 days later. "Hi, this is Debbie from Midwestern Lending," the woman said politely. "I'm calling to notify you that the mortgage payment for 124 Orchard Avenue is now past due. We've attempted to process the automatic payment on file, but it's been canceled." I didn't respond right away. I just let her speak. When she asked if I'd like to update my payment method, I replied calmly, "You'll need to speak with Greg Walker. It's his mortgage." Click. Next was the bursar's office at Marquette University. "Hi, this is financial aid following up on Savannah Walker's tuition installment. Your account was previously billed to the credit card ending in, I'm no longer paying for her education," I said. "Please contact the student or her parents going forward." Click. Then came my mom. "Elena," she said, breathless. "Did something happen?" "The electric bill just got shut off for non-payment, and your father's trying to reach the pharmacy about my medication." I canceled all financial support, I told her. Effective immediately. Her voice cracked. "But why we're family?" "You treated me like a thief," I said. "Now I'm stepping away like one." That evening, the texts from Savannah started pouring in. "You're unbelievable. So you're punishing Mom and Dad because you're guilty. I hope this tantrum is worth it. You'll be begging to come back." I didn't reply. Instead, I went for a walk. Crisp air, dying leaves, no explanations. Then my phone rang. Melissa Ramirez. I almost didn't answer. "Elena." Her voice was hesitant. "I wasn't sure if I should call you, but I overheard something yesterday. Savannah was at Cafe Luna with her friends. She didn't see me. I stopped walking. She was bragging about how she finally got you out of the way. Said something like, now they'll stop comparing me to her all the time. She mentioned hiding the ring, making it look like you took it. I didn't catch every word, but I thought you should know." I thanked her, hung up, and then just stood there. It didn't feel like relief. Not exactly. It felt like watching a house fall down you already knew was on fire. I wasn't vindicated, just confirmed. And still very much alone. I didn't call. I didn't march back and expose Savannah in front of everyone. I didn't yell or cry or demand apologies. I wrote a letter, It was 3 pages stapled to a black and white printout of the binder. Every payment, every tuition transfer, every bill with my name and their address. No accusations, no anger, just math. At the end, I wrote effective immediately, all financial support has ended. This decision is final. Then I mailed it. 3 days later, the fallout began. Savannah's university called again this time, leaving a voicemail about her withdrawal from 2 classes due to an unpaid balance. A week after that, I heard from Aunt Leslie that Greg had sold the truck he used for contract work. Rumor was he'd fallen behind on their car loan, too. Linda called me in tears one afternoon. "Elena, please. Your father's been trying to get a second job. Savannah's so upset she can't finish the semester. The power company keeps calling. Can't you just help with the basics?" I didn't yell. I didn't even raise my voice. "I helped with the basics for 3 years," I said. "I paid for survival while you called me a liar." She sniffled on the other end. We were emotional. You know how people get when things go missing. "You believed I was capable of stealing. That wasn't emotion, that was a choice." That night, I brought the binder to my therapist, Dr. Thompson. She didn't read it. She just looked at me and asked, "Do you want them to understand what they did, or do you want to be free of it?" "I don't know," I said. "You can't heal while trying to prove your innocence to people who benefit from believing you're guilty." I sat with that for a long time. Later, back home, I turned the mirror on myself, not the kind in the bathroom, but the internal one I'd avoided for years. The one that reflected a girl desperate to be good enough to earn love. It cracked. Not because I'd broken, but because I'd stopped lying to myself. They weren't losing me. They were finally facing the cost of never really seeing me at all. The envelope was pale blue, my name written on the front in Savannah's loopy handwriting, the kind she used on birthday cards and thank you notes to teachers. It arrived on a Thursday, wedged between a utility rebate and a coupon booklet. I almost threw it away. I stood in my kitchen for a full minute, just staring at it. Then I opened it, bracing for blame, guilt, a demand for money hidden under an apology. But it wasn't that. It was 2 pages handwritten, messy in places, no exclamation points, no hashtags. "Elena, I don't know where to start. I was angry at you for a long time, angry in ways I didn't understand. You always had your life together. You never needed help. And everyone, they praised you constantly, even when you weren't around. I got tired of hearing, 'Why can't you be more like your sister?' I know now that comparing us was never fair, but at the time I thought if I made you look less perfect, I'd finally get to be enough. So yes, I moved the ring. I wanted to make you stumble. I didn't think it would go that far, or that you'd actually walk away. I've dropped a class and picked up extra shifts at the bookstore. I'm seeing a counselor at school. I'm not writing this to ask for anything. I just needed to say it. I'm sorry. Savannah, I read it twice, once as a sister who'd been betrayed, once as the woman who'd finally learned how to set a boundary. Something shifted. Not everything. Not forgiveness. Not trust. But something. I didn't write back, not right away. But I didn't block her number again either. That weekend, I texted her a simple line, "I got your letter. Thank you for telling the truth." She replied 5 minutes later, "I didn't deserve your help, but I'm trying to earn back your respect." I sat with that for a long time. There was still a scar, but for the first time it wasn't bleeding. And maybe, just maybe, something new could grow over the break. Not the same old story, a new one. But only if we both told the truth this time. It was the first family dinner in almost 6 months. Same house, same creaky dining chairs, same floral plates Mom had owned since I was 12. But everything felt different. Lighter, maybe, like someone had finally cracked a window in a room that had been shut for years. Greg was at the stove stirring pasta. He'd taken on part-time shifts with a friend's construction crew, plus a few evening jobs fixing decks. He looked tired but grounded. More hands-on than I'd seen him in years. Linda set the table slowly, her movements careful but steady. She'd picked up a few hours a week arranging flowers at a local shop. It wasn't much she'd told me when we first reconnected, but it felt good to do something, to earn. I believed her. Savannah brought the salad prepped from a kit, but tossed with care. She looked different too, hair tied back. No false lashes and old bookstore pins still clipped to her denim jacket. She didn't flash me a forced smile. She just nodded, then sat beside me. I brought dessert, store-bought but still warm. Conversation stayed surface level for most of the meal. Weather, work, a neighbor's broken mailbox. No one brought up the ring, or the money, or the months we'd spent circling each other in silence. When Mom excused herself after dinner to take her medication, I reached into my bag and handed her the small pharmacy envelope. Paid in full, 3 months' supply. She didn't protest this time. She just squeezed my hand. "Thank you for this." "That's all I can do," I said gently. "And only this." "I know." And for once, she didn't try to ask for more. Later, as I helped clear the plates, Savannah stood beside me at the sink. "I'm paying for the rest of my semester," she said quietly. "It's slow going, but I'll make it." I nodded. "Good." She hesitated. "It's different when the money's yours." "Yeah," I said, meeting her eyes. "It is." We didn't hug, we didn't cry, but we understood each other in a way we never had before. Without the games, without the expectations, just two women washing dishes, no spotlight, no pedestal, just a new table, one we all had to rebuild from scratch. I used to think love meant staying quiet, staying useful, staying generous even when no one noticed. I believed that if I just gave enough time, money, patience, they'd eventually see me, appreciate me, love me better. But they didn't. And when everything fell apart, I didn't win by proving them wrong. I won by walking away. Not out of bitterness, not to make a point, but because I finally understood real love doesn't ask you to disappear. Real love doesn't demand silence in exchange for belonging. Now, when I look at my life, it's not defined by what I give away, but by what I choose to keep. I keep my peace. I keep my boundaries. I keep the parts of me that used to bend until they broke. And strangely, in the space left behind, my family started showing up not with apologies, but with effort, with work, with humility. I don't need them to praise me anymore. I just need to keep showing up for myself. And I do, every day, because in the end I wasn't asking for perfection, just recognition, just respect, just the chance to love without erasing myself. And now I finally have that. Not because they gave it to me, because I claimed it for myself.